I want to begin by thanking Anhad and SNS for giving me this opportunity to share my own thoughts and feelings about this important issue that the country is debating today. Um, as Sanjali pointed out, we were struggling against the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. We were not doing anything against the country or the interests of the country. We were not against development or electricity generation or national security. As you may all know, India has a 7,500-kilometer long coastline and 1,050 kilometers falls in Tamil Nadu. Fishing is a very serious economic activity in our part of the world. And in the southern tip of our peninsula, hundreds of thousands of people are engaged in these fisheries activities. Now, of late, because of our so-called development activities such as setting up thermal power plants, shipwrecking yards, building ports and harbors and all that stuff, the fisheries is dwindling. There is a serious depletion of fisheries resources in the sea, and hundreds of thousands of our young people, young men, go abroad for fishing opportunities, fishing related jobs, and also construction jobs and all. Now, when the struggle started, when Kudankulam nuclear power plant was proposed right after the Chernobyl accident, and it was about to be commissioned before the Fukushima accident, people obviously felt scared. And these kind of projects are not good for a country like ours, where population density is high and a large number of people are living so close to each other. And an accident like Chernobyl or Fukushima will spell a very bad disaster for us. And people took a stand, fought against it. It was only a matter of job for the fisher folks, but for tens of millions of people who live inside, it's a matter of food and nutrition security. Many people in our part usually go to Gulf countries for jobs. But the government of India obviously thinks that the ordinary people of our country do not have a mind of their own. They cannot think through the government's projects and programs and policies. They cannot take a stand on their own. And they cannot decide which is good or bad for them. So when people like us, more privileged ones with modern education and a little bit more exposure to the government's policies and programs, take a stand and stand with them, we are considered to be seditious. And the poor people are also considered to be seditious. As Anjali pointed out, more than almost 9,000 people, 8,956 people were accused of being seditious, and 21 cases were filed against us. Now, Prashant Bhushan has been a consistent supporter of our struggle. He took the matter to the Supreme Court, common cause, and I were the petitioners in this 2016 case. And we formed the Kedarnath judgment as the foundation of the case. And we argued in our case that when sedition charges are framed against people, the authorities such as the Director General of Police or the Commissioner of Police must certify that the seditious act either led to the incitement of violence or had the tendency or the intention to create public disorder. Only after these authorities issue such a certificate, FIRs should be filed and arrests can be made. With this prayer, we fought the case, and Prashantji pointed out to the court already knows that, sedition law is used to threaten activists with legal action, and it is intended to frighten civil rights groups and individual activists, and it tends to force them, coerce them to keep quiet and to keep away from all these power corridors and their policy making decisions. We also pointed out in the petition, as Justice Grover also mentioned, that thousands of people are denied passports, and without passports, as I described before, cannot apply for jobs or go abroad for jobs. And when young people manage to find jobs, even in private firms, they are required to produce a police verification certificate from the local police station, which are denied to them, and they cannot go to not only government jobs, even for private firm jobs in private firms. And we have been often required to produce ourselves in the court of law, and as and when required. So this kind of running back and forth and struggling to make ends meet on a daily basis is quite a challenge. And quite a few people like myself have been denied passport for the past 11 years. Myself, my wife have no bank accounts are frozen, and lookout notices have been issued to all the ports and seaports in the country, and we are being treated as criminals. Now, more than all these legal entanglements, as Vrindaji pointed out very powerfully, it is a social taunt that is really haunting us. In a small district town or in rural areas, when you are tainted, when you are taunted as seditious, as a desadrohi, it's a serious offense, and your own relatives won't have anything to do with you. When you go to attend the social functions, your own relatives, close relatives and friends keep away from you because they don't want to be seen in public with you, because you are a desadrohi. You are the enemy of the state. You are enemy of the country. You are someone the country despises. So that kind of taboo, stigma, and this taunt is really quite a difficult thing. Leave alone the practical difficulties like not having a bank account, a passport, the ability to travel abroad, and all that. As far as I am concerned, I used to make a living by teaching courses in Europe and the United States, and I've been denied of that. This economic strangulation, keeping you completely removed from productive economic work and keep you subdued, is a major thing that happens, and not many people talk about that or think about that, because only when you go through this will you be able to understand what this sedition law does to you. And disagreement and dissent cannot be seditious. We are treated on par. People who are facing these sedition charges are treated on par with the dreaded terrorists and dangerous criminals. If non-violent activists, if peaceful activists are treated like this, what kind of message we are sending to the younger generation? Aren't we forcing them to take to arms? That if you are fighting against a government project or policy in a non-violent, peaceful manner, you will be taunted like this, treated like this, and what would you do? And what kind of message do we send to our youngsters, our youth? It also makes me wonder if you are living in a free, independent, and democratic country where you cannot take a stand against a government project or a policy or a program and express your opinion. Now, the constitutional validity of the sedition law has been, as Vrindaji pointed out, has been questioned, challenged by quite a lot of people. Recently, two journalists from Chhattisgarh and Manipur have filed a petition, and now the Supreme Court has decided to take a stand on this, that the sedition law has been misused, misapplied, and abused, and all that. So when the Supreme Court is seeking a response from the union government panics and does not want the Supreme Court to take a hard stand on the issue. So they want to preempt that and came up with a proposition that they would envision that or revisit that or something. They said that reconsider, you know. And I think by doing so, they are trying to postpone this issue indefinitely. I don't really think that the union government is seriously considering revisiting or reorienting or reconsidering this particular piece of legislation. They are only trying to postpone it indefinitely. And now, because of the Supreme Court order, the sedition law has been put on hold. It is in abeyance, and they have asked the authorities not to file any more FIRs and to let the people apply for bail and all of that. Now, will the government really reconsider this seriously? I doubt it. The Prime Minister has been talking about shedding the colonial heritage, colonial baggage, and all of that, but I don't know. Now, people like us who have been taunted and targeted and traumatized by this definitely do not want this law to exist anymore. It has to be completely rescinded, thrown away. Then there is another school of thought now, the so-called centrists, I think. They say that the offense, the sedition offense must be narrowly defined to cover acts that affect the sovereignty, the territorial integrity, and the security of the state. Now, I really do not understand. The right-wing elements obviously will go for this hyper-nationalists who consider themselves as Deshbhakts will always be interested in worshipping their nation, and they want to make this kind of laws even more severe and rigorous. But those of us who are on the left of the continuum obviously want to do away with this. Now, the so-called centrists are coming up with a very dangerous proposition that this has to be defined narrowly and the law has to be retained. As Vrindaji pointed out, there is a stark difference between the state and the government. If sedition is an offense against the state, we need to consider the concept of state itself very seriously. When the state meant the monarch, obviously sedition may have been meaningful. But now the state is not the monarch. We are the state. People of this country are the state. And how can people act against themselves? And especially when they problematize a particular policy or a project or a program of the state, we are not being traitorous. We are not selling out. We are not working. I mean, as we have been funded, like we are urban Naxals, we are Maoists, we are American stooges, and we have been receiving money from the United States, China, and all that kind of nonsense. And none of these charges has been proved. Even after almost 11 years of the struggle, nothing of this sort has been proved with any kind of documentary evidence. So the state concept of state has to be revisited. And finally, in the interest of time, I would like to say that I want to answer the question that has been posed to all of us. This will not be a step towards strengthening freedoms. Now, consider the commissions and the omissions of the Indian state recently, what they are doing with all kinds of draconian laws like UAPA and draconian anti-people institutions such as NIA and all kinds of things. They are not doing this to facilitate democracy, human rights, dialogue in the country. They are doing all these things to stifle people's right to express themselves, people's right to stand up and take a stand on the so-called development activities. Now, I am afraid the sedition law will be made stronger and we all will be fooled eventually. Thank you.